everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Leandra the TBR0, and my goal is to lessen my physical TBR one book at a time. It is Friday morning, it is the weekend, and so we have another weekend vlog for you. The focus of this vlog will unintentionally be historical mysteries. I didn't really mean to create a themed vlog. I just have a handful of books that I'm reading at the moment, and the two priorities are both historical mysteries. So here we are, a surprise theme. The first book I want to talk about is The Frangipani Tree Mystery. This is by Avidya U. It's the first installment in a series that is about 6 or 7 books so far. It's set in Singapore, 1930s, which is really interesting because the British Empire is still very much in control of Singapore, very much involved in all of their practices. I really like the fact that we've got a 16-year-old sleuth, so she's still figuring out how to juggle all these cultures, all of the languages she has to speak in various instances, juggling her own customs while also understanding British etiquette and expectations. So yeah, this is going to be a really good one. The reason why I'm reading it is because it's actually the She Done It book club picks for September. So we're doing a British Empire historical mystery setting. This is the book that won the vote, and because I work for She Done It, I always have to stay ahead of the book club, so I'm trying to read it right now. The next book that is going to be the focus this weekend is Miss Morton and the Spirits of the Underworld. We are talking seances, we are talking spirits contacting some type of medium, but we're also talking some swindlers, maybe someone who's trying to take more money than they need, and yeah, just pretty much good old-fashioned lying. This is the second installment in the Miss Morton series by Lloyd. Thank you so much, Kensington, for gifting me this physical arc. I really do appreciate it. I'm already enjoying it. I've started it so far, and I do have to say that if anyone's interested in this title, you can pre-order it. It comes out August 22nd, 2023. If you want to wait a few weeks, it should be on the shelves of your favorite bookseller. These books are also set 100 years apart. We've got 1930s Singapore, and then 100 years earlier, 1830s London. That is awesome. All right, let's get this weekend started. Like and subscribe. It's Friday evening and I am halfway through Miss Morton and the Spirits of the Underworld. I'm enjoying this so much. It has so many elements that I particularly look for in historical mysteries. We are set in the 19th century, which I love, 1830s. We also are set in London, which is just an area that I really enjoy too. It's a great setting. We also have a feminist female protagonist, which I am of course up for. Anyone who doesn't like that in historical mysteries, I honestly don't understand you, but we will move on from that. Miss Caroline Morton was once Lady Caroline Morton. She and her sister were left penniless after their father died in disgrace, and so Caroline needed to find employment. She is now the companion to Mrs. Frogerton. Mrs. Frogerton's a very eccentric, loud, colorful woman, but she's also not very much respected in society because she is so wealthy thanks to trade. Her husband died, and so she ended up taking over the business, and of course it flourished because she is an intelligent, amazing woman, but no one respects her for it. Are we surprised? So Mrs. Frogerton and Caroline are forces to be reckoned with. They're also just, they get along so well, which I absolutely adore. However, Mrs. Frogerton, because she's eccentric, because she's a bit on the dramatic side, she gets mixed up in spiritualism and finds herself continually visiting Madame Lavinia, a woman who has recently returned to London, and she supposedly can speak to those who have passed on. She tells Mrs. Frogerton that she can speak to her husband, that her husband is proud of her, which, again, why wouldn't he be? However, things get a little bit sticky when Madame Lavinia is discovered dead, and the person who is the prime suspect is actually one of these women's close friends, Dr. Harris. They believe that he is innocent, but no one else does, and it seems as though Madame Lavinia, whether she is truly a spiritualist or a charlatan, she was definitely participating in a bit of blackmail, and they're trying to figure out what's going on. I love that. Like, I love the idea of them wondering, how does she know this information? Because some of the information you can definitely get from learning about society members, paying off staff, but others, specifically some of the information that Caroline was receiving from Madame Lavinia, she is wondering how could she have known that, because it's something that her father had told her, and she believes that he probably wouldn't even remember this memory, and she actually had half forgotten it until it was brought up to her. So there are some tendencies of wondering just how truly supernatural and gifted this woman was, which I really love. I like it when we toe the line, and yeah, it's really great. So if anyone's interested in this already, from what I've kind of mentioned, I highly recommend it. I am also only halfway, so things could take a turn for the worst, but I'm really enjoying it. So far, we got to the point where Dr. Harris has actually been arrested. And so now both Mrs. Frogerton and Caroline need to double their efforts to figure out who actually is the murderer so that they can free their friend. And yeah, and I'm also wondering if there's a little bit of romantic tension between Caroline and Dr. Harris. I don't know. It could just be wishful thinking. It's probably just wishful thinking. I will let you all know my thoughts in the next update, but I will have to switch gears, and that's because I'm also doing a buddy read with Danny over at Danny Dabbles. We are reading The Obelisk Gate by N.K. Jemisin. This is the second installment in the Broken Earth trilogy. We read the first book together, loved it, and so we're doing a buddy read this month as well for the second one, and I definitely have to get in my 3 chapters a day for that, so I'll be doing that this evening. You also might have noticed that I did have a bit of a break, and I was reading a cartoon, Revenge of the Librarians. This was a book that I picked up randomly while I was at work yesterday at the library. Started leafing through it because we were slow, and then I was like, this is actually so funny. Why haven't I read this? So I borrowed it myself. It is very funny. There's a lot of humor as far as writing goes. If you're a novelist or an aspiring novelist, there's a lot of humor regarding, of course, being an avid reader, about classic works, whether you've read them or not. And there's some humor about what it was like during lockdowns, because this cartoonist was Scottish, and so a lot of his, or not a lot, but a couple of them do highlight what it was like to deal with a pandemic and being in lockdown. And it's all very light and nice, and I really enjoy it. So if anyone's interested in this, I highly recommend you check it out. Maybe see if your library has it. If they don't, recommend they get it, because what library doesn't want books about libraries? I mean, ours does. So yeah, I recommend you guys check this out. I'll be slowly going through it and enjoying it over the weekend. But again, it won't be my priority. The historical mysteries will be. I got a package! We're gonna open it up together. Thank you so much, Source Books. I think I know what it is, but the last time I said that, I was wrong. So let's figure this out. Well, I was wrong. I gotta stop guessing what I think it's gonna be. So we've got The Puzzle of Blackstone Lodge. This is by Martin Edwards. It looks like it's a Rachel Savernick Golden Age mystery. Obviously that is perfect for me. Let's see what it says. In Blackstone Fell, one false step can prove fatal. Yorkshire, 1606. A man vanishes from a locked gatehouse in a remote village. 300 years later, it happens again. Autumn, 1930. Journalist Nell Fagan knows there's only one person who can get to the bottom of this mystery, Rachel Savernick. But someone wants Nell dead, and soon, while investigating a series of recent deaths at Blackstone Sanatorium, she goes missing too. Looking for answers, Rachel travels to lonely Blackstone Fell with its eerie moor, deadly waters, and sinister tower. With help from reporter Jacob Flint, who is determined to expose a fraudulent medium at a seance, Rachel will risk her life to bring an end to the disappearance. Speaking of seances, oh my gosh! This is so cool. Thank you so much, Source Books. Thank you so much, Poison Press, for giving this to me. Oh my gosh, this is a gorgeous edition, and it is a finished copy too, which is so lovely of you. Oh my gosh, there's also a really cute bookmark that comes with it. There was nothing else. There wasn't a press kit or anything that came with it, but I'm really looking forward to this. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. This is gonna have to be a priority read because it's just too perfect, but I don't know if I have time to include it in this vlog. But you can enjoy and celebrate with me if I choose to wait to read it until afterwards. Oh my gosh, it's so cool. We gotta take a look at that. Oh my gosh. Yes. Oh my gosh, I know who this is. I don't think I have anything over here, but he's, this is really embarrassing. I know who Martin Edwards is. He actually is also the editor of all of the anthologies that are by the British Library Crime Classic series. So Settling Scores, Murder by the Book, and a few others, Foreign Bodies, Crimson Snow. He does all of those, and hopefully I've included graphics to the side here. But oh my gosh, I'm really looking forward to actually seeing how he writes himself, because I've only ever read anthologies that he's edited. So what a whirlwind. It's only Friday. What else is going to be in store for this vlog? I have no idea, but this is awesome. It's Saturday afternoon and I finished Miss Morton and the Spirits of the Underworld. I really enjoyed this. Caroline Morton and Mrs. Frogerton are really an amateur sleuth duo, if I had to say. Even though this is called a Miss Morton mystery, I really enjoyed both of these women protagonists. Both of them had a certain tenacity. They complemented each other very well, especially because Mrs. Frogerton is this wealthy, high-spirited woman who honestly doesn't take any sass from anyone. She's very much willing to make herself a spectacle to get the answers she needs, compared to Caroline, who has kind of learned to be in the background. She's very rational. She takes her time observing and understanding which strategic behaviors would get her the most gain as far as information and just gaining people's confidences. So they really did complement each other really well. I also liked the side characters that they found to assist them in their investigative endeavors. There was a lot of complicated plot here as well. Madame Lavinia being murdered, there was a question of, was it because she was blackmailing someone who didn't like being blackmailed? Was it maybe because she truly was a spiritualist, a psychic, and was divulging information about certain crimes that were happening that someone else, the criminal, didn't want people to know about? There were a lot of different avenues that this book could have gone, which I really enjoyed. I also would have liked if I knew if Dr. Harris was meant to be a suitor for Caroline. They seem to have this kind of opposites attract scenario going on, but in this particular book, he was so distracted all the time because he was a prime suspect. The police were dogging him the entire time. He was constantly moving in and out of scenes. He got arrested at one point. So I didn't really get to see them on screen together. On screen. What is this? A movie? So I think that what I might need to do is go back to book 1, which is Miss Morton and the English House Party Murder, which sounds amazing. And just to see if that's where they meet, if they have a bit more scenes together, because I think that's where I was missing. If I would expect something to happen in book 3, maybe, maybe not, especially because Caroline was also getting distracted by all of these other suitors. These men from various different places seemed to kind of be propositioning her in a very subtle way. There was Mr. de Bloom, and she wasn't really sure what he was doing. She didn't know if he would be willing to maybe risk his own reputation, anger his mother by marrying a woman who has lost her own wealth. And even though she still has her title as Lady Caroline, you know, it wouldn't really look great as society observes them and kind of judges them for that marriage. But then at the same time, if he didn't want to marry her, then the other alternative is that he wanted her to be his mistress, and she definitely didn't want to do that. And speaking of, I just like that Caroline is so confident in her position as companion to Mrs. Frogerton. She actually really enjoys her position. She thrives in it. She really likes the feelings of independence that she has compared to her previous experience with having to be dependent on basically society respecting her, her father's reputation, holding her up until marriage. So she does actually feel a lot more secure in her current situation, especially because she's kind of had a found family with the Frogertons and their staff. So I was really very supportive of that and really liked that she was like, nope, I am not interested in marriage anytime soon, which I really liked. I did guess the criminal a little bit too soon, I suppose, for some people's likings, but honestly, I think it's more so, not to toot my own horn, but I'm usually not that surprised when I guess who the murderer is. I usually struggle more so in trying to figure out how it was done, why they may have murdered this person. But I'm just kind of used to the tricks of the trade, various tropes, various red herrings being thrown at me. So it honestly didn't surprise me that I guessed the who, but I certainly didn't guess the why. So that actually is definitely a point in this book's direction, because there were many different avenues this book could have taken. So I highly recommend anyone check out this series. Thank you again, Kensington, for gifting me this particular copy. I already know that this is going to be a series I'm going to continue reading, but first I need to go back to book 1 so that I can kind of see where it all began. Moving on to the next historical mystery. I am 50 pages into the Frangipani Tree mystery. This is by Avidya Yu, and I'm really excited to get back into this, especially because we're moving from 1830s London to 1930s Singapore, the Crown Colony. So British control is still very much a heavy influence in this area, and you're already seeing it, especially in regards to cultural customs being compared, the locals and their own prejudices, experiences, problems with British citizens who are living in Singapore at the moment. And the main character, Su Lin, is this great observant young character, and I really like her voice. I really like how she is being just as strategic, if we're going to be honest, as Caroline Morton. She also has this very precarious place in society where her own parents are no longer alive. She's been raised by her grandmother, and she's kind of viewed as this bad luck cloud, especially because she also still has an injury, a limp from childhood polio. So pretty much the entire area of locals believe that she is this bad luck person that makes it harder for her to marry, for her to really kind of move forward in life any other way. And so her grandmother, because of that, actually ends up sending her to school. So she's very educated. She has knowledge in various languages, including English, and this kind of gets her in on being the charge of this one inspector, and his name is Inspector Thomas Lefroy, and he is basically investigating this crime that was at once thought as an accident. The nanny of this very wealthy English family falls from a balcony. Everyone thinks it's an accident until they see that her neck is broken, showing that she was pushed with force, that she has a stab wound hidden under her clothing. And so clearly Inspector Lefroy really needs to figure out what's going on, which of these family members are lying, and Su Lin has kind of become his assistant unintentionally, but she's totally on for the ride. Her goal is to just get as much adventure as she can, because she's also not really interested in marriage anytime soon. She's also 16, but naturally 1936. Listen, history is messed up. But yeah, so I'm seeing a lot of parallels already with these two books, and because I already enjoyed this one so much, I'm really excited to move on to Singapore and see what else I can enjoy with this particular mystery. I am halfway through the Frangipani Tree mystery, and I am really liking it. I really like Su Lin's voice. She is really contemplative, she's very careful, and that's, again, why I've kind of been connecting her along with Caroline Morton. They both are sitting in positions in which they're servants, or at least they're in the working class, and so they have to figure out how to navigate gaining confidences not only with the rich but also with the other staff members, the other servants. And it's really cool to see this, especially because there's just so much diversity in this particular mystery. Not only is it set in Singapore, which is allowing for this great multicultural setting where multiple languages, multiple cultures are being intertwined, but Su Lin herself, she is disabled. She's also become the nanny. She's replaced the woman who was killed, and she's a nanny for this young woman who's 17, but she has the mental capacity of a 7 or 8-year-old. So that's really interesting representation. I really find this so cool. The mystery is really captivating. There's a lot of secrets going on. We've discovered that the nanny herself, being Irish and of coming from poverty as well, she seemed to be rubbing people the wrong way, thinking that because she was a white person in this society, in the Crown Colony, that she kind of started taking liberties, thinking that she was also upper class, which rubbed certain other upper class people the wrong way. The household that she was a nanny in is the house of like the acting governor. And so Lady Mary, the woman of the house, is very much a racist, very much wanting the poor to stay poor, her to remain in comfort, and she judges everyone. And honestly, she's a horrific character, but it's really fascinating to, again, like get that honest perspective, especially when we're talking about like estate mysteries tending to be just surrounded by rich people. And it's really nice to have Sue Lin kind of like pull back the green curtain and show just how horrific some of these people are. There's a lot of secrets, a lot of people are hiding certain things. What I'm interested to see is if Dee Dee, the young woman that Sue Lin is charged to take care of, if she has seen things that other people are chalking up to her imagination. A lot of times she'll say something and people will say, oh, she lies all the time, she's such a storyteller, and they don't really take her seriously because she is mentally disabled and because she, again, is treated as a child. It's I don't know. I'm really liking it so far. I'm finding it really interesting, and if it continues to go in this really fascinating pace, I would totally follow Sue Lin in the following mysteries. What's really cool too is that I'm really fortunate to be reading this, especially because this is actually a book I got through ILL, so Interlibrary Loan. No libraries in my own local system had it. Libby didn't have this book, neither did Hoopla, and so I ended up having to go through our ILL system, which reaches out to all libraries in my state. And fortunately, the library that sent this to me for a few weeks on loan is literally multiple hours away. So it's just, I don't know, just a shout out to the public library systems and how much the libraries in my area like try to make sure that we can gain access to all books, even if it's not in our budget, even if it's not in our capacity to have all books at our own location. It's lovely. This is why we need to support libraries and show our appreciation as much as possible. With that said, I'm gonna take a break. I need to have a late lunch because it is Sunday afternoon and I am starving at this moment. I also will be popping over to the shops because I want to make burgers tonight, and I need like a few of my fix-ins that I like to have there, and then I'll probably return to this in the evening. We'll see if I can finish it today. There's about 150 pages left. If not, I might make a priority to try to finish it by tomorrow morning, on Monday morning. And if I do, then that will be my final update, because I really want to let you all know like what my full thoughts are. But like right now I'm gushing about it. It is Monday afternoon, meaning that the weekend is very much over and this vlog needs to end. And at least it can end on a good note. I finished the Frangipani Tree mystery, meaning I finished both historical mysteries that I had wanted to finish by the end of the weekend. With this one, I'll be giving it 4 stars as well. I really found it to be an enriching cultural experience. Yu puts us in a very specific time and place. She also is really great in giving us a plotted mystery. We had many characters that were suspicious, many characters who were hiding things, and the reveal was pretty exciting, especially when different pieces were falling into place. I will say that the end was a bit dissatisfying as far as justice being served in the way that I would have liked it to be served. I also do want to give a few content warnings. As the book progressed, I realized that one of these characters was definitely being discriminated against by her weight. She's a horrific person in general. She's a character we're not meant to like. She is racist, prejudiced, privileged to the extent where she feels like she is in the right to treat certain human beings as lesser than human. And the reason why I'm describing all these things is because we already had many reasons to hate her, many ways in which the author could have described her for us to dislike her, and I felt as though the author was leaning on the fact that she was overweight, that she was a fat character, and that's just one more reason why we should not respect her and like her. So just be aware of that. There's also the inclusion of the R word as far as those who are mentally disabled go. It's mentioned a handful of times. I'm sure that is mainly in relation to the time period, being the 1930s, being Singapore. Maybe that's like the word that they were using at that time, but just for those who need these types of content warnings, I want to make sure you know about it. So I am giving them both 4 stars as far as well plotted, intriguing mysteries. The fact that I really enjoyed both of the amateur sleuths who were working women. I really liked the social commentary on the fact that those who are in power, for here it's the rich, and for here it is the white British. The ways in which that the law, justice doesn't exactly mean anything to them, and that there needs to be more creative ways to seek justice as far as that goes. So yeah, anyone who's interested in these 2 titles, I highly recommend them. Just be aware of the content warnings for this one in particular. And yeah, so I guess I'll be seeing you guys in the next one. If you enjoyed the vlog, consider liking, subscribing, commenting if you hear the crazy rain that is outside my window at the moment, hence why it's so dark and it feels as if it's nighttime. I promise it's not Monday night, but that's probably when this vlog is going to come out. And yeah, I will see you all in the next one. Bye!